Welcome back to Conversing Over Drinks with your host Cedric Turner. Today we have on a special guest is my brother from another mother, Marlboro Slim, aka Dallas Morrison, aka 420. However you know him, he is on the episode today. We've been trying to get this set up for like a month now, so it's so great to have him on the episode. We're going to talk about a whole bunch of stuff because I've known this man since I was 15 years old. That's a long time. So we're going to talk about a lot of stuff that we have history about, but we're going to try to keep it just wrestling and music because those are two things that we are both kind of passionate about. So, Dallas, if there's anything else you want to say to the listeners, man, we'll know and we can get into the episode, man.
All right, man. It's all gravy, baby. It's Marlboro Slim, and been a lot going on lately.
Yeah.
About to dig into
Well, man,
Marlboro.
let's jump right into the episode. I mean, you got your Marlboro Slim pup out there barking, but it's all good.
Yeah, see the kids named him Marble, so I just said Marble Slim, and yeah, let me close this door.
Man, talking about Marlboro Slim, how did that become your wrestling name, man? I've been wanting to ask you that for a minute. How did you come up with that as your wrestling name?
Man, when I used to like get really drunk and be partying, with Stormy and them, like
Yeah.
it was just kind of an alter ego that came out. You know, it
That's
was like it
eh,
was like a character, I guess. Like
hell
Frank
yeah.
the Tank.
Yeah. I mean, we all got those, man. I was like,
Yeah,
my boys call me whenever we get to that level, they call me said 2.0 because I'm
yeah,
usually real calm and I ain't gonna do too much. I don't really drink that much. But when we turn up and we get to that level, said 2.0 comes out and I'm just zero cares in the world and I'm doing a whole bunch of crazy stuff. So
yeah.
so it's all good, bro. I understand. Oh man. So for our audience and for the listeners, man, we met each other back in what was it, man? 2004, 2005?
Yeah, something like that.
2000, I think it was 2005. I think it was summer of 2005. I had just got to the mission, the Oaks Indian mission. I had just got there and I met Max, and then I met you. Then I met Rebely and who's your sister, and then I met Whitney. And that was crazy. Like I tell people, that story still cracks me up because I tell people all the time. I was like, because how close me and Todd are started with you, and so I tell people all the time. I was like, that story was hilarious to me because we were playing ball and Rebely and Whitney had came up to the court. And I was like, "Hey, yo, who's that little blonde head chick?" And I was talking about Whitney. And you was all like, "Oh yeah, she got a man." And I was all like, "Man, she ain't gonna have one when she get to know me." And you were like, "Oh yeah, yeah." You just gassing me up. And then you was like, "Hey man, I'm gonna bring some buddies with me next tomorrow when we come play." And I was like, "All right, cool." And you brought Todd, who she was dating at the time. So you brought Todd, and then they came over to the court again, and you was like, "Hey, yo, Sam, what was you saying about the old girl right here again?" And like I'm standing right next to Todd, and I'm just gassing it up, and you're just like, "Yeah, nah." And then Todd's like, "Yeah, I'm her boyfriend." I was like, "Well, good shit, bro." I was like, "You sure?" And then like me and Todd were cool ever since then. It was like my brother, so I was telling people that story all the time. I was like, that could have went one or two ways. It was just, I was like, it was just a pull off. I was just like, well, good shit, fam. And then we just went to balling. It was fun, man. But it was a great time, man. That was a great summer. Then you moved on to Sequoia instead of staying at Oaks.
Yeah,
And that sucked because we could have had a squad if you would have stayed. Like it was that was
yeah,
bringing in. I was like bringing in me was a different thing. It was we could have had a squad if you stayed. That would have been a fun senior year. Like it would have been super fun. But
yeah. I think about it sometimes. 'Cause
yeah, it. I mean, we all make different decisions. I mean, God leads us down different roads. That was your path at the time, and so it was fun. It's fun to think about, but man, I was talking to some of my former players that I coached when I was coaching. I was like, man, I was like, if Dallas stays, I was like, you're a year above us. I was like, if Dallas stays, I was like, our junior year where we made that super long run with Jared and Steven and Casey and Corey and Dustin and me and Todd and Chad coming off. I was like, we had a squad. And I was like, it would have been so fun to just make that run together and just
Actually, I
take
ended
off.
up being in the same grade.
Yeah, you did. So you would have stayed again for our
Yeah.
year, and then that year, our year was even more insane because they didn't think we were going to be that good, and we were just smoking teams, and it was, it was, it was so much fun, man. It would have been a lot of fun. It would have been great uh, to just have that. And then I was like, it was super fun, man. Oh man,
But it's
but
crazy because the reason why I went to Sequoia is kind of like what happened in the result. You know what I mean? Like, because my senior year we went to was the only undefeated team in the history that regular season. You know what I
yeah,
mean? And then in basketball we played Millwood in state championship. You know,
yeah,
so like the
y'all
reason
ran it,
why I went there was there. You know, but there's a
yeah,
lot of things that came with going to school like that at that time. You know,
yeah.
and if you're not careful or even disciplined, you know, like there's a lot that can happen, you know. So,
Oh yeah, especially at that age, and
oh man, and then
especially at
what was
Sequoia.
going on, you know, at the
Yeah.
time, you know. So,
And I mean, y'all ran into a bud saw because y'all ran into my cousin, and like
oh yeah,
I already knew like when y'all ran into Gerald, I was like, yeah, y'all.
yeah.
I was like, y'all ain't beating Gerald. I was like, Gerald. I was
Hey,
like that
we
boy.
almost did
Y'all
though,
did. It was
man.
such a good game, man. Like I remember talking to Gerald after the game, and like that is the greatest nod of respect when it comes from like an all black school, a hood school,
Yeah,
and it's such a legendary school like Millwood. When like I was talking to Gerald and I was like, "Hey, bro," I was like, "What y'all?" I was like, "What'd you feel about Sequoia?" He was like, "Hey, man," he's like, "I didn't know natives could play like that." He's like, "They almost got us." He's like, "That was a good ass game." I was like, "Hell yeah, bro." He's like, "That was a good ass game, man." And then he went on and did his shit. Like,
yeah.
but
He went to Tennessee, man.
went to Tennessee, ended up playing for the Eagles for a little bit.
Yeah.
I think he was on the Chargers for a little bit. Yeah, man, it was. Yeah, that's Cuzzo. But
And
he
then
was.
Tremaine Swindoll, he ended up going to Texas A&M that next year.
Yeah, they
I
had a
was
squad, man.
6'3", had to guard somebody that's 6'10".
They still got squads, man.
Yeah.
Like
Oh
when I
yeah, for
left,
sure.
they had a kid that was like a freshman. He was like 6'3", it was built like a tank, and he was a
Yeah.
freshman. I was like, what? And like I've talked to my buddy since then. They said he's grown to 6'6", and he's still just huge. And I'm like, that's ridiculous,
Yeah, it's wild.
dude.
That's like that kid at Dale City. What's his name? Brandon something. But he was like 6'10", and ended up being a McDonald's All American. Now he's
Yeah,
playing at Oklahoma State. It's
yeah.
wild.
Man, it's always fun. Oklahoma's got some silent talent that a lot of people don't know about.
Man.
And like I mean, like, you know Mike. I get mad at Mike every time I see Mike. I'm like, bro. I'm like, Mike, you was so nice, man. Like so nice. Could jump out the gym, had a burner from anywhere on the floor. Like
Man.
I was all like stupid athletic, stupid. And I was like, bro, Mike, like I was like, I should be watching you right now, not like kicking it with you. Like I should be
Yeah.
watching you do some shit. Like Mike was cold with it, and like
Yeah.
I love Mike to death, but I still get mad when I see him sometimes. I'm like, bruh, like,
Yeah.
like bruh, and it is
I
but it's
just seen
all
him the other day.
yeah,
Yeah, at a family reunion. So
oh yeah, like
yeah.
like when I see his posts on Facebook, like I don't really post on Facebook as much anymore. I just kind of like go in there for like 10 minutes and then I bounce out. But I see he's doing a lot better. I see he's doing
Yeah.
a lot better. So I was like, that's good to see. That's good to see. Um, but yeah, man. So for the people we were talking about music, 420 Dally. That's where me and you really built a closer relationships because we were both aspiring to be rappers. And it
Yeah.
was it was great stuff, man. It was always fun, man. I always had I don't know how to say it, but like I was always big supportive of people that I knew doing music. Like if I knew you, I was gonna rock with you, and I was gonna. If you asked me to come something, if I could make it, I was gonna make it. And it was just I was rocking with you, um, and I was trying to help you reach your goals. I always thought you were really good at it. I thought you were really good, especially in the producing area, making the beats and mixing the tracks together. Why did you lose the passion? Why you dip out?
It's still kind of there,
Yeah,
like it's something I'll never leave, but it was doing more damage than it
yeah,
was fulfilling. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Uh, like I've been writing since I was like 12 years old. I recorded my first song at I was 18 when I did it.
mhm,
There was so much going on. I went and did a little tour.
yeah,
Was it 2 years ago now? Went to Texas, Atlanta, it was all over the place. And, things was looking pretty good, and then I got into a car wreck, and got caught under a moving truck. I was doing an interview in Oklahoma City, and then
yeah,
on the way back that happened, and I was just like, I don't know, man. A lot of like things just started talking to me, and
yeah,
then I ended up going with my old lady, and stepson to go watch some wrestling, shortly after that.
yeah.
And I seen how much fun they was having, and
It's crazy, man. It's a lot of fun.
yeah, and
Yeah,
it was like, smaller type indie wrestling,
yeah,
and it was what spoke to me was, man, kids can actually come to this stuff.
yeah,
Like when I was doing the music, kids couldn't go where I was going
yeah.
because it was mostly in bars,
Oh yeah,
and I had a lot of kids into my music. And at first, it was like, yeah, I was going to wrestle, so I could have a alley to get to where the kids could see me in some way,
yeah,
and but once I got into it and started doing it more and more, it was like, man, this kind of taking off way faster, way harder than the music, like,
oh yeah,
and it's just something that became an addiction in a positive way,
yeah, yeah.
so
And it's when you're having fun doing something, it is not an addiction. It's just finding your passion. Like I
yeah,
mean,
yeah,
you're having a lot of fun with it. You're passionate about it, and I mean, it's feel like you're never working. You're just showing up and doing what you love. And
yeah,
that's a great feeling, man. That's a
yeah,
new joy. And knowing you as long as I've known you had some dark days, man. And I'm just like I try to tell you every time I see you how proud of you I am that I see these steps that you're making and who you were and who you are now, and this is night and day, and
yeah.
it's a very um it's a very humbling thing to see because we all deal with our own demons, but it's also something where I'm just like, hey, my boy doing big things, so I'm happy for him, and that's great. And
Yeah, I mean, you're doing big things too, bro. So,
I
I'm proud of you too.
yeah, I was
You're way on the other side of the earth right now. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah,
that's
yeah,
fucking awesome.
yeah. Like I gotta step back sometimes to think about that stuff. Like people like my best friend always tries to remind me of that. He's like, bro, he's like, half of us ain't got a passport. He's like, you working on your second one. He's like, you been everywhere. He's like,
Yeah,
you gotta be happy about that. Quit dwelling on the bad things. And I'm like, yeah, yeah, I understand. I was like, sometimes I mean they just creep up. They creep up. And
that's just the devil trying to hop up on the shoulder and
oh
get
yeah,
in your ear. Like he does that shit to all of us. That's you
always,
know,
always, yeah. And it's it's been a very humbling experience here in Japan. Like I'm not gonna lie, I came to Japan running away from Don's passing. Like
Yeah.
uh, that was super hard on me. And it was just a compound thing. It was my grandfather had passed, and then my grandmother had passed, and then Don passed, and that was all in 3 years. And it was the three most important people in my life, and they were all gone. And so I was feeling lost. I didn't know what to do. I was making really dumb decisions. I wasn't morally. I was doing things that I knew that wasn't the man that my grandfather had raised me to be. That wasn't the man Don had groomed me to be. Like that wasn't who I was supposed to be. But I was making those decisions out of depression and anxiety and loneliness. And I was just like, man, I gotta go. And so I came over here to Japan and I thought that would help. And it has helped to a sense, but it's you can't run away from it. You gotta just attack it. You gotta accept it. You gotta move on from it. And so I've been doing that a lot. Like, I'm not even gonna lie to you. I took a break from the podcast until you hit me up and he was like, hey, let's talk about it. I was like, man, I was like, for you, I would come back. I would come back and do an episode because I feel like it'd be a great episode. I was like, other people, I'll be like, man, I'm taking a break. Like, like
Yeah.
hit me up in like a month or so, man. I was like, I'm just kind of chilling. But man, I was so excited to do this episode with you, man, because it's been a minute and I've seen you doing a lot of great stuff, and your following is growing. Like I saw you post the other day, you had like what 1,000 people on TikTok now.
Uh,
Like,
yeah, my video had 10,000 over 10,000 views on.
yeah, man, that's crazy, man.
Yeah,
I'm proud of you, man. And I mean, if this helps your TikTok grow even more, like people love the podcast, man. They love to hear it. They especially love the human podcast, man, where you're just natural and you're not trying
yeah,
to sell anything. You're just being you. You're telling your story. And so, like, if this helps you grow, man, I'm happy to help you. Um, and back to the wrestling, man. So I heard you ran into my boy Rush.
yeah.
Yeah, man. Rush, good people, bro.
Uh,
Like, where'd you run into him? Did y'all have a
um,
match, or is he?
no, we didn't have a match, and really, I didn't even we didn't even speak to each other. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Like we just kind of crossed paths over the wrestling against hunger. You know,
Okay. Yeah.
and then I was showing because he was in a part of the NWA, you know, and I
Yeah.
was like, man, that's what Ric Flair and Von Erickson then was doing, you know,
Yeah.
and so I was showing my stepson, you know, some I put his name in the search on TikTok, and then what popped up was your podcast, and I was like, wait, I was like, hold up, man, I was like,
Yeah.
let me check this out, you know.
Oh
So
yeah.
I started watching the podcast, and then that's when I hit you up, and I was like, you know, Rush, you
Yeah,
know,
man. Man, I've known Rush damn near like 10, 10, 11 years now. Like that's my guy, bro. Like he was a huge wrestling nerd in college. I'm a huge wrestling nerd, so like we would watch WrestleMania and stuff together and watch pay-per-views together, and we're talking about the wrestling. He's been trying to get me to get into wrestling for like 5 years now. Like he's
man,
like, bro,
it's fun.
yeah, he told me, he's like, bro, come be my manager. He's like, you ain't even got to wrestle. He's like, you just got to talk. He's like, I was like, bro, if I'm your manager, I was like, you gonna get over as a heel real quick. I was like, 'cause I'm gonna make people hate you. I was like, people gonna hate your guts. I was like, you gonna be walking in, somebody gonna say something. I'm like, hey, bro, shut the fuck up. You know, I was like, we just gonna keep on walking. I was like, yeah, I was like, I ain't gonna have no fear in the world. I was like, I was like, manager skills. I was like, I can talk a motherfucker into a heel. That's real talk. I was like, I don't know if I can talk you into a baby face, but I can talk you into a heel real quick. And but nah, man, we grew up doing that, man. Like I've been watching wrestling since I can remember. Like that was outside of basketball, that was my favorite thing to watch was wrestling.
Yeah.
And so
The
you,
Attitude Era, man. We got the good stuff. We got the Stone Colds and the Rocks and Triple
man,
H's and
I tell people this all the time. Like during the Attitude Era, I was not a WWE guy. I was a WCW guy.
oh
Like
yeah, yeah, for sure.
I love WCW. Like
Yeah,
I was a big Sting guy. I loved Goldberg because I knew he was from Tulsa, Edison, so I was like Goldberg all day. Um, I I was huge, like, and it wasn't even their big guys. Like, I didn't give a shit about Hulk. I didn't care. I didn't care about Razor Ramon,
What?
and
You
I
gotta go
didn't
with the NWO, bro.
like.
You
I didn't
have
care about
to.
the NWO. I cared about the cruiserweights. I loved Rey Mysterio
Oh yeah, yeah,
Jr.
of
at the
course.
time. He was Rey Mysterio Jr. I
Yeah,
loved Jr. I loved Billy Kidman, Eddie Guerrero, um, Chris Benoit, Chris Jericho. Like, I love those dudes. Like, it was just watching them, and I was just like, man, these guys are awesome. Like, I didn't care about any other match except the cruiserweight matches. Like, that's the
yeah,
only matches I wanted to watch. And then when they went over to the WWE, I went over with them. And like, I knew about Stone Cold and The Rock and all them, but I was just like, man, these are just giants picking on little guys. And I
yeah.
was a little guy, so I was like, I don't really rock with that. And then they came over to the WWE, and Eddie became Latino Heat with China, and it was just Latino Heat. And I was like, that's my guy, bro. Like Eddie is my goat. Like, to me, Eddie is the greatest wrestler of all time. Like,
Oh yeah, man. His
he's the goat to me.
personality was one of a kind, bro. Like
Like,
his
the
he
stuff.
was his heel was for sure. You know what I mean? Like
Oh, it was amazing, man.
yeah,
Like, his mic work, and then he would get in the ring and just out wrestle anybody, and it was just great to see. And I'm gonna ask you this question: what is your Mount Rushmore of wrestlers?
oh man.
I know it's hard to pick, man. I know it's hard to pick, but what is your four?
Man, and I've said this before,
Yeah,
in another podcast, but damn. I probably have to go with Dusty Rhodes,
yeah,
Ric Flair,
okay,
the Macho Man,
wow, okay,
and probably The Rock.
The Rock, okay. I respect it. I respect
And
it.
the reason why I chose those is because not only because of their wrestling,
Yeah,
but their mouthpiece was full of diamonds, bro.
yeah, yeah. And I completely get it. Like, those four embody the biggest part of wrestling. They embody entertainment. Like,
Yeah,
nobody was more entertaining than Dusty Rhodes. Like, when Dusty Rhodes was on the camera, you wanted to watch Dusty.
yeah,
And Ric Flair, like, he is the grandfather of all these new wrestlers. Like, he
yeah,
was the first to do flamboyant clothes. He was the first to get really crazy on the mic and say some wild things, give you punchlines. Like, he was the first to do all of that stuff.
and
Um,
like with him and Dusty going back and forth, you know what I mean?
oh,
Because
yeah, and they were just a great
oh,
rivalry,
yeah,
and
yeah,
both of them on the mic talking at each other was just fantastic.
yeah,
Randy was just all mic. Like, he could go in the ring, but a lot of those guys in the like 80s and 90s were not great in the ring. They were great on the mic, but they weren't that great in the ring. They were kind of stiff. But I mean, it was still great to watch. And Randy was great to watch. Still one of the best matches I've ever seen is Randy versus Steamboat at WrestleMania for the Intercontinental Championship. That's still one of the best matches I've ever seen. It was great. The Rock is just The Rock. Everybody knows The
yeah,
Rock. The Rock is The Rock, man. I don't know what The Rock can't do. Like, it's crazy.
yeah.
Uh,
I just watched a movie with him last night, so
ugh.
like
I was like, he's crazy, man. I don't know what The Rock can't do. It's ridiculous. Um, my four, man. See, my four, I'm way more on the wrestling side of it. I love technical wrestlers who can get in there and give you a 5-star match with a broomstick. Like, I love those guys. And so my four, Eddie's on there. Eddie's on there for sure. Kurt Angle. People don't give Kurt Angle enough respect.
no, they
There was
don't.
nothing Kurt Angle couldn't do. He was beautiful in the ring. Like, On the mic, he could be hilarious. He could be a great heel. He could be a great face. Um, Still some of the funniest stuff I ever seen. Like when he did "I'm Just a Sexy Kurt" when he was having his rivalry with Shawn Michaels. He was like, "I'm just a sexy Kurt, sexy Kurt."
Yeah.
He was like, "I'll make your ankle hurt." I was like, it was some of the best stuff I had ever seen. Like, and he was just a fool with it. And I love Kurt Angle, man. I love him. Um, my number three, my number three is always a random. People don't understand it, but it's a random, and it will be a random because it's just how I feel, man. It's just how I feel. Daniel Bryan or
Oh yeah.
Bryan Danielson is one of the greatest wrestlers I have ever seen. And there's nothing he can't do. He can destroy you with real wrestling moves. On the mic, he's great. He can give you great storylines. You can put him in there with a rookie and he'll make the rookie look like a 10-year vet. Dude is fantastic.
Yeah.
And then the guy that I put right under Eddie is Randy Orton. Like
Oh
Randy
yeah.
Orton longevity, 20 years plus. Uh One of probably, if not the greatest, one of the greatest heels you will ever see. Everything he does in the ring is just smooth and effortless. Like he's the greatest ballerina in a ballet. Like he just everything looks so easy to him and he just flows with it. And he's such a great heel that the crowd can't hate him.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
they just can't hate him. Like they want to, but they're like, fuck, it's Randy, bro. Like
Yeah.
it's like
RKO. No.
he's just that good, man.
Man,
And
and it's crazy when I lost my title,
yeah.
uh I got RKO'd through a chair, bro.
Wow.
And
Like,
but see, I still won the match when I got RKO'd through the chair.
yeah.
And then a dude came behind me and cashed in his open weight, JR.
Ah, yeah.
After I was like, boom, kind of laid over him, and
Yeah.
won that match. I went to get up. I was still in a daze, and he hit me with that chair like 5 times and took my title, bro. And I'm coming back
Man,
for that shit next week.
that's
Dude,
crazy. Like,
dude.
man, like when I think of that's wild. And when I think about Randy in the RKO, like that's how great Randy is. Like Randy has made that such a fantastic move that people forget it's just a diamond color. Like
Yeah,
DDP was doing that way before
yeah,
Randy even started. Randy was in middle school when DDP was doing that. And people just forget that it was a diamond color. And I was like, I
yeah,
remember the first time I saw Randy do it, I was like, "Is that a diamond cutter?" I was like, "Did he just do a jumping diamond cutter?" And then they started calling it the RKO. And I was like, nah, bro, that's a diamond cutter. And
yeah,
then I just became a fan of him because first I didn't like him. I didn't like him at all. I thought he got pushed way too early, and I didn't like that. But he's grown on me, man. I love Randy. He's such a great wrestler. But you brought it up, man. Let's talk about your time as champ, man. How was that?
yeah. It was cool. It was different. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
uh, the day it happened was actually my year anniversary of wrestling. So
Okay.
that was pretty cool that it happened that way. It was kind
Yeah.
of random. But man, it was really more about the kids. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like how the kids respond to
Oh
you
yeah.
being the champion, and like I took the belt over to my son's school.
Yeah.
He had a little event at school and stuff, and all them kids was like, "Oh, what is that?" And he's like, "My dad's champ. He's
Yeah.
fighter," and stuff like
Yeah.
that. And all them kids wanted to hold that belt, and stuff like that. So,
Yeah, man.
that experience alone, that's worth it right there.
Yeah, that's great, man. And that's another reason I couldn't get into wrestling for real because I love heels. And so
Yeah,
I would I there's no way you could talk me into being a face. I'm like,
yeah,
nope. Nah, I was like, I gotta be a heel. Like I gotta be as devious as possible. The crowd has to hate my guts. I want
Yeah.
them to boo me every time I step out. Like that's
Well, see, what's crazy is
yeah,
I have a heel manager,
yeah,
and everybody does not like him. You
yeah,
know, he's like Paul Heyman in a way. You know, because
man,
he talks so reckless
yeah,
on the internet at the shows. You know, and they have tried to make me a heel, but the crowd's reaction to me,
you gotta
it
embrace
just,
it, man. You gotta
yeah, you
embrace
know,
it.
like that they just, I'm just Marlboro Slim, you know
Yeah,
what I mean? Like, I don't put myself as a face or a heel because one show I might come off as a heel. Maybe
yeah,
shit ain't going the way it's supposed to go, you know, and stuff like that. But I just go out there and do my thing, you know, and people love it, man. It's
yeah.
awesome.
That's why I told Rush. Like Rush, when we were talking about it, he was like, "If you ain't gonna come into wrestling," he was like, "You should just write." And he was like, "You should write." He's like, "You should come into wrestling as a writer and just write storylines because, like, I've always loved doing that too." And like, because I like the whole reason he brought it up is because before Roman Reigns went on that fantastic run as champ. Oh, that was beautiful to watch. Oh, I missed the guy. I wish he would come back, but I know they're saving him for something. But he needs to come back. But before he went on that beautiful run, like 4 years in advance when he first broke up with the Shield, I remember like Rush remembers me sending him a message, and I was like, "Bro, you know what would be awesome is if the Usos joined Roman and they started something like a." I was like, they started something like a heritage thing, like back in the day when we had. I was like, when we had God, the Nation of Domination. I was like, they need to start something like that. And I was like, but they're all family, so they can keep it as a family thing. But my thing was, I wanted them to add the females of the family too. So I was like, they could add Tamina and Nia Jax. And I was like, the especially when the women's wrestling had tag team titles. I was like, it would be crazy. I was like, Roman would have the main title, the Usos would have the regular tag team titles, and Tamina and Nia Jax could have female tag team titles. They could just be running through people. I was like, it would be crazy. And then when he came back and they started the bloodline, Rush was like, bro, you called this like 5 years ago. I was like, yeah. He was like, you need to get into writing. And I was like, man, that would be fun. That would be a lot of fun. I was like, because I know how to turn a crowd. I was like, I can feel a crowd. I know when they want something new. I know when to turn a guy, when to make something happen at the shock value. Like it would be great. But wrestling, was it something that you said you went out with your old lady and your son and you went to a wrestling event and you was like, man, these guys are having fun. Maybe I should try it out. Were you ever a fan of it when you were little? Like,
Oh
or was
yeah,
it
for
just,
sure.
yeah,
We watched it
like,
all the time. Like, you know, my brother, you know,
oh
Shane.
yeah,
He's
Shane.
a
Me and Shane talk about wrestling 24/7. Like every
yeah,
time we talk to each other, it's about wrestling.
yeah, he's always at the events, you know. So
Yeah,
I grew up like seeing that, you know, like
yeah,
it was every Monday. It was, you know, it was either Nitro and or Raw, you know,
yeah.
like
Or you had
that was a given, you know,
or
every
you had
time,
two
every
TVs and they were both playing.
golly, man. I remember getting the you know, watching the pay-per-views and stuff, like and
It was
it was crazy times,
it
you know.
was fun time, man.
Yeah.
Like,
Even the video games, man, like
oh yeah.
Super,
I had
was it Super
WrestleMania
Nintendo?
2000 on the 64.
Oh yeah.
WrestleMania 2000, WWF No Mercy. WWF No Mercy is a classic. Like
Yeah.
people don't understand how great that game is. It's a classic. But WrestleMania 2000 on the Nintendo 64, that's a classic too because that was the first game Shawn Michaels was on.
Yeah.
And like you had to beat the game to get Shawn. He like came out after you won the title and he's just dancing. You're like, oh shit, it's Shawn Michaels. Then he super kicks you. You're like, oh, this is bullshit. So,
I remember Royal Rumble, man, with Yokozuna and
yeah.
Doink and all of them.
Oh man. I
Yeah.
remember getting in trouble because me and my little brother on my mom's side, I used to host wrestling events in our little game room because it was like our garage got converted into like a game room. So like me and my little brother took like king size mattresses and we made our own little ring. And I used to host wrestling events and like I had my buddies, like I would write the storyline, and of course I'm gonna write the storyline, so I'm always fucking champion. Like stupid. Like I'm always champ. So me and my little brother, I had it all planned out. I'm like, bro, I was like, I'm the ultimate heel. I was like, I'm gonna beat your ass in this match. I'm like, this is like this was our second match for the title. I was like, I'm gonna beat your ass in this match. I was like, I'm gonna beat you down. And then in our third match for the title, the crowd is gonna want you to win it so much that when you do win it, they're gonna go nuts. And I was like, you're just gonna be a great face. This fool was not, he was not patient at all. We had a ladder match, and I told like we had everything written down. I told him the spots. I told him what was going to happen, and so like he's on top of the ladder, and I'm like kind of army crawling to him. He's reaching up for the belt, and I grab his leg and I pull him down off the ladder. It's not even a big ladder; it's like a 3-step ladder. And I
Yeah.
pull him down off of it, and he falls down. And I just kind of like take my time going up to it, and I'm like doing this to the crowd as they're booing me, and I'm just like bring it in. And then like I'm reaching up for the belt, and out of nowhere, this muck hit me in the back with a chair. Just bah! And I was like, wait, hold up. And I just like crumbled and fell down. And then he like runs up the steps and takes the belt, and like the crowd is going crazy. They're like, yeah. I'm just like, I'm sitting over here. I done rolled out the ring. And I'm just pissed. I'm like, bro, I'm about to fuck you up for real. Like this guy, like, I was mad, man. First thing I did, like a little bitch, I ran and told my mama. I was like, man, I was like, you know, like I brought her the script and everything. I was like, it says right here he was supposed to. And she was like, nah, if y'all want to argue about it, I'm just gonna take all of it. I was like, nah, he cool, he the champ. I was like, it's all good. Went to bed, came up, woke up next morning. I'm like, man, I'm like, Smokey in the backyard. What's going on back there? I was like, we making barbecue. What's popping? Go out there. Our whole wrestling stuff's out there burning in a bird patch. My mama done burned all of it. I'm like, nah. I'm over here in tears. I'm like, why you do this to me? She's all like, you over here crying about your brother winning the belt. He's like, nah, neither one of y'all playing. And my little brother just looking at me like, could just let me be champ. And I was like, yeah, we was doing some dumb stuff, bro. But I remember that match like it was yesterday. I was super pissed because I didn't see it coming at all. I was gassing up the crowd, and this fool swung that chair like a baseball bat. And I was just like, oh shit. I was like, oh my God.
You wanted that belt.
Man, it was I was uber pissed. I was pissed for like a week. I was just mad. Like, cause I would go to school and like all the kids at school would just be like, oh, what up, champ? I'm like, man, I'll sock y'all out right now. And like, where that belt at? I'm like, I'm like, but as a wrestling fan, bro, how do you feel when people call it fake?
Oh man, I don't know. I got elbowed in the face a couple weeks ago,
Yeah,
and it kind of knocked me for a second.
yeah,
Like I came to when they go, you know.
yeah,
So they can call it whatever they want, but I got the bruises and everything to know that it's not fake. It might be scripted, but
yeah.
it ain't fake. And some of that stuff hurts,
Oh yeah,
especially when you get have to go over that top rope and you hitting the floor with no padding.
yeah,
Even some of them rings, like the ring I wrestle on at NAW, you're looking about that much padding
yeah. I was
on
like
some plywood and metal.
taking
Like
a bump on that is not fun.
Man, I'm telling you. And
Yeah.
see, the thing is, after when we do a show at Null, we get there like 1:30 to set up the ring.
Yeah.
And this is one of them old school rings that still got the spring in the middle.
Yeah.
So uh, after we get that put together and everything, we do a 2 to 3 hour training session before the night even starts. So it's like, and I got some of the elders, that's been in it for years. They're the ones showing us things and how to be a more technical wrestler.
Yeah.
But we're doing all that shit. By the time everything's done calmed down and the show's about to start, well, you better start stretching or something because you're sore as shit already. You're like,
Yeah.
golly, you done took about 5 or 6 hip tosses at least, and then some other things that, where you're taking bumps and stuff. You probably take
Heck
about
yeah.
10, 11 bumps in that train, and it's,
I
yeah.
remember listening to Stone Cold's podcast. Stone Cold's like, man, when people call it fake, he was like, the beauty of it is, he's like, I hope that you're good enough that when we're in the ring, we make a compelling match and neither one of us gets hurt. He's like, I hope you're that good. He was like, but a lot of people that get in this are not that good. And he's like, there's a lot of botches. He's like, there's a lot of people that are not supposed to swing for real that swing for real. And
Mhm.
then some people get pissed off and then it becomes a real fight and the referee got to break it up and be like, hey, look, we got to stick to the script. And when people, I remember people used to say it to me when I was younger, and I was vicious with it. They'd be like, wrestling's fake, and I was like, Santa isn't real. Kill yourself. Like I was, I would just come back with some stupid shit. They'd be like, wrestling is fake. I'm like, you were adopted. And I'll just walk away. They
Yeah.
were like, oh, ow. But now, like, then as I got older, they were like, man, they're like, come on, man, you be watching wrestling, it's fake, right? I was like, that TV show that you love so much that you in here talking about all the time, that's fake. That's scripted. I was like, that movie that you came in here, oh, Lord of the Rings or Harry Potter or Star Wars. I was like, all scripted, all fake. I was like, but you love it. And I ain't coming in here saying, Star Wars is fake. I was like, shut up. I was like, let me enjoy what I enjoy, bro. I was like, it's
Yeah.
called entertainment for a reason. It's entertainment. And I was like, and I promise you, you ain't gonna say that to any of their face. I was like, it might be scripted, but they will fuck you up on site and
And
not care.
like a lot of them moves are based off of real shit,
Yeah,
like, and all it does is take an adjustment to somebody and say, hey, is this fucking real or fake now? You know what I mean?
yeah.
Like, with the reason why these moves are done a certain way is so we do not hurt each other.
Oh yeah. I was like,
But it can really fuck somebody up, like the guy who's been teaching me, over at all, Bobby Burns, man, like what he shows me is some stuff that they took and twisted that he learned in the Navy, bro. You know what I
yeah,
mean? So like this stuff is to actually subdue your enemies,
yeah.
but you gotta kind of relax so you don't hurt them.
Oh yeah.
So
Right. One of the funniest stories I heard is from Braun Strowman. Uh, he said it was in a match with Brock, and he said that he swung on Brock and they got the timing wrong and he went a little too stiff and he actually hit Brock for real with a knee. He's like he like really need Brock in the face. And he said Brock was pissed. He said Brock hit him with the fastest two piece he had ever seen. He's like pop pop. And he's like I was like this for like for like a good 10 seconds. And he was like, and Brock was like, slow the fuck down. I was like, damn. So, he was like, yeah, man. He's like, some people, he's like, if you mess up, they will let you know. And like
oh yeah,
Randy,
receipts, man.
yeah, I was like, Randy used to do that all the time. I remember when he did it against Kofi Kingston, like when Kofi messed up the ending of a match, and like he like pinned Kofi and then just got up and he was like, stupid, stupid, stupid. I was like, oh, calm down, Randy. He was pissed.
Yeah.
He's like supposed to go a certain way, man. And like it's keeping up receipts are hilarious. Like I love seeing when they keep their receipts, man. Oh man. All right, bro. So before we get out of here, we got about 10 minutes before we end the episode. But man, we got to talk about your time with your productions. You've wrestled with NWA, Native American Wrestling. You've wrestled with UWE, United Wrestling Entertainment, and then WAH, Wrestling Against Hunger, which is a great cause. Then you're wrestling with BPW, which is Body Progressive Wrestling. And a lot of people don't understand, like, indie wrestlers wrestle with a lot of different promotions, and they play a different role in every different promotion. um I don't want to get you in trouble by saying which is the favorite one, what's your favorite that you work for, but but uh like, what are your roles in each one? Are you just Marlboro Slim in all of them, or are you
Yeah,
like
I'm just
Marlboro
I'm just
Slim the
Marlboro
heel?
Slim at all of
Yeah,
them. So like
all of them.
I just did my introduction at WAH, the Wrestling Against Hunger, and
Yeah,
I came out with they had a fatal four-way match, a tag match,
yeah.
and I came out with the Light Horseman, which is Warhawk and Badger James, and they're doing their
Oh
thing out
yeah,
there. And it was me and Coco. Coco's this other native dude.
hmm,
He's a badass, man. He's big,
yeah.
he wrestles everywhere. And me and him walked out with them, so we could come out as the four light horsemen. So
Okay.
they never
Yeah,
had four before. They always had like three. And
yeah,
so we walked out there, and it was dope. We got
yeah,
the crowd, getting the crowd involved, and stuff like that. And then towards the end, we had to help. They had a face and a heel moment to where they clashed at the end,
mhm,
and we had to help get Eddie Levon off of and Romeo Reese. We had to split them and keep them at bay from each other
yeah,
because it got a little crazy, So that was a different uh type of shit role that I had to do,
yeah.
and man, it was so much fun, you know what I mean? Like,
Thank you.
just you just go in there and like, come on, we got to go do this. So you're running over here from this locker room, which was in a church, and you're running from there into this deal and to the ring, and it was a really fun experience, man. With body progression wrestling, um I'm actually making my debut this month, and
Okay.
the person who put that on is Brandon Groom, who was actually part of WWE. And he was I watched on YouTube, he had a match with Booker T on Velocity.
What was
And
his name?
Brandon Groom.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So
Velocity is a long time ago,
yeah,
bro.
you know what I'm saying? And
Yeah.
I believe he was on SmackDown too at one point in his career.
With dark
And
matches?
huh?
Was he on dark matches, or was he like on
Um
the on a production?
I'm not for sure. I think he was
Yeah,
actually in the ring and stuff, and
man, that's crazy. I ain't never heard of him.
yeah, he actually came out like a wrestler. He had the headgear on and all that stuff.
Oh shit. He might have
Yeah.
been doing. I remember when Kurt was doing that, and they were looking for a
Yeah.
lot of people that had like wrestling bodies, so they could do the headgear. Cause you remember when Kurt, like, who did he lose? He lost the Edge, and he had to cut his hair,
Yep.
because he was already losing his hair, and like Vince was like, "Hey, you're just gonna go bald," and he was all like, "All right." So he had to lose the Edge and lost his hair, and then he came out with that. He was wearing that headgear to keep that wig on his head,
Yeah. Yeah.
and that was hilarious. And they had like a couple other dudes coming out with him that had headgear on, and I was like, "That's hilarious, bro."
That was the beginning of Perk Angle. No.
Man, Perk Angle, goodness, bro, that dude, he was
Yeah.
a demon. Like, Perk Angle, like, I'm so happy that he's turned his life around, because we could have lost him. But
Yeah,
man,
for
I was like,
sure.
that dude is another type of athlete, like,
Yeah.
just ridiculous. Like, I remember they asked him a question, because Brock was doing pretty good in UFC at the time, and they were like, "Hey, Brock, heavyweight champion, you're a gold medal heavyweight champion. If you guys ever wrestled, what would happen?" He was like, "We have wrestled." He was like, "We wrestled behind." He was like, "We wrestled behind stage one time." He was like, "We just had a wrestling match." He was like, "And I beat him." Um, Brock is just a freak of nature. He was like, Brock didn't really know how to wrestle. He was like, I'm an Olympic wrestler. He was like, Brock is a college champion wrestler. He's like, it's two totally different levels. He was like, but if Brock would have took it serious and went to the Olympic side, he's like, there'd be no way in hell I could beat Brock. He was like, Brock is just too physical. He's like, Brock is huge. And he was like, it would be a great match. I would have a lot of fun. He was like, but I think Brock would win. And I was like, it's just Brock is a freak of nature, man. Like he's something I don't think we'll ever see again. Like he's a freak, man.
Yeah.
Like I remember that spot in WrestleMania against Kurt where he did that shooting star press and almost snapped his neck and just popped right back up. And I'm like, bruh, like really? Like I'm like, you did a shooting star press, almost broke your neck. It just popped up like it wasn't shit. Just like, all right, let's keep going. I'm like, what the hell?
Yeah.
Like, bro, people die from that. Like, but it was. I remember watching that when I was little, and I was like, ooh. And then he popped up. I was like, what the fuck? Oh, who is this dude? Like, I was like, oh my god. But then Kurt's had some stuff like that too. Like I remember when Kurt gave somebody a German suplex and like broke his back during the German suplex and finished the match. Went 15 more minutes in the match. And then you got Triple H who like tore his quad and then wrestled another 20 minutes with a torn quad. And oh man, I think about those guys as athletes, and I'm just like, bro, they do stuff that is just inhuman sometimes. You're just like,
Yeah.
how in the world can you do that? Like I was like, they talk about it all the time. It's like Cody. Like Cody did a 40-minute Hell in a Cell match with a torn pec and just bruised everywhere. And it's just 40-minute Hell in a Cell match. It told Seth to do whatever he wanted to do. Like he was like, hey, just do it. He's like, we got to get this match off. He was like, and then people will understand that I got to go away for a while to let this heal. He was like, but we got to get this match off. And I was like, bruh, I was like, that's another level. I was like, because when I was like, if I would have torn my pec, I would have been like, yeah, I'm out. I'll see y'all. I was like, explain it, hit it on Twitter, be like, hey, the boy hurt. I was like, I gotta go. I was like, I'm not about to wrestle a 40-minute Hell in the Cell match with a dude in a torn pec. No. But that was
The part
they're,
of
they're,
it, man.
man, they are at a different level. So, bro, before we leave, we always lately we try to leave these episodes on more of a personal note.
Yeah.
Like I said in the beginning, you've had your demons and you went through your stuff. That's just life. We all have our lessons. We all have the lessons that we got to learn, things we got to go through, stuff we got to do. What is like your personal message to people who are just kind of stuck in a rut? Like stuck in a rut, feel like they got two strikes on them and strike three is coming in fast and they just don't know what to do. And what's something like to help them change their life around? Because like I said, you've changed your life around for the better. Um, and I know how hard that can be. And I know that's something that a lot of people struggle with. So we always try to end the podcast on a positive note. So what's something you could tell people about that?
Uh, let's see. Don't do drugs. Uh, get closer to God, and watch UWE wrestling.
I mean, that's about as simple as you can keep it, man.
I mean, God did a lot of it, you know.
Yeah, it's always a constant journey, man. Like it's definitely something where I mean, when Don passed, I was very angry with God, and so it took me a while. I mean, be honest, I've been to church 2 times since Don died. Like I haven't really stepped into a church, but um, I have grown closer to God. Like I've been reading a lot more. I've been understanding a lot more, trying to understand a lot more. Um, but yeah, man, it's a struggle. It's a struggle,
It is.
and sometimes it's just
but there's beauty in the struggle. You know what I mean?
Always.
And the best part about it is, God always looks out for us. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And even at times when we don't let him know we appreciate him,
Oh yeah.
or her. We don't know what that is, but it knows us. It knows us in and out,
Yeah.
and like to be so forgiving for us, and when we can't even meet him halfway sometimes, and still to give us love, like that's a beautiful thing right there, And,
Oh yeah. It's always like I came up with a joke like a week ago for one of my buddies who's a comedian. Um, he's a black comedian, and he was like, "Hey man, I need a joke," and I helped him with a few jokes, and I was like, "Hey bro," I was like, "If you're talking to the crowd," I was like, is it a majority a black crowd?" He was like, "Yeah." I was like, "All right." I was like, "Tell them that you know God is black." He was like, "What?" I was like, "Just go with it." I was like, "Tell them you know God is black." I was like, because like any other black parent, when their kids are yelling at them for help, they ignore them. I was like, they ignore them, they ignore them, and they're like, "Mama, Daddy," and they're just like they're going on with their day. And I was like, it is usually because the kid is asking for something that's stupid, like something that they don't need or something that they can do themselves, and they're just ignoring them. I was like, the inverse of it is that when they actually do need them, they're always there, and then the kid is always like, "Nah, I got it, it's cool, like go be you." And I was like, and that's I was like, that's a lot of people's relationships with God. I was like, we're always praying to Him when we feel like we need something, and when we don't need it or we feel like we've accomplished something on our own and he actually comes in to help us, we're like, nah, I got it. I got it. You go do this. I got it. I know what I need. And that's not how it works.
yeah,
Uh, I was like, my grandmother used to tell me all the time, you want to make God laugh, tell him your plans. Right. Because I was like, he knows the plan. Right. That's the whole point. Um, and it's definitely been a struggle, but it's been good to get back to it. I
I
started
actually changed the way I pray, just because of that and what you
yeah,
just said. Because, like, I remember when I used to pray, I'm like, oh man, please be this thing happen, yada yada yada. You know what? Them things might happen, but it happens with a consequence,
yeah,
So you got to be careful for what you pray for and
yeah,
how you ask for things. You know, you got to how I started praying now is, I just if I say anything about that, it'll just be a situation that's going to happen, And
oh yeah,
but most of the time when I do pray, I just give them thanks. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Like that's really what it's about is just being thankful for what you already have. Because how's God going to bless you with more if you ain't even happy with the shit you have?
exactly,
Like
exactly, man. I used to tell people, I was like, y'all got to quit praying like God's a genie. I was like, he ain't out here
yeah,
granting wishes. I was like,
yeah,
that ain't what he's supposed to do, man. I was like, he ain't out here granting wishes. I was like, it's just. I remember I got in trouble for it one time because my grandma used to tell me to pray to God like he was my best friend. And so like that's how I would talk to him when I was praying. I would talk to him like he was my best friend. I'd be like, yo, what up, G? And I would talk to him like I would talk to a friend. And I remember I did that one time when we were praying before a basketball game. And Hummingbird got pissed. He was like, we don't pray like that. And I was like, why? I was like, why would I not pray like that? I was like, I'm supposed to talk to him like he's a friend, like he's my father, like he's my buddy. Why would I talk to him like I was like, why? I was like, why do I gotta follow a certain order? I was like, I don't get
yeah,
it. I was like, it's my prayer. Like, why I gotta follow a certain order? But I would tell people that all the time. I was like, bro, I was like, talk to him like a best friend, man. Talk to him like a friend that you haven't seen in a long time and you just catching up with, man. I was like, just have a conversation with him. I was like, he's not there to hurt us. He's not there to condemn us. He's there to save us. He's there to help us. He's there to understand and help you grow. I was like, he knew you before you were you. And so I tell people all the time, I was like, it's like driving down a rocky road, man. I was like, it's gonna be a lot of bumps, it's gonna be a lot of turbulence, it's gonna be a whole bunch of stuff. And I was like, and there's gonna be days where you want to pull off to the side of the road because you're just tired of driving. And I was like, and there's gonna be days where the road seems super smooth and you're just flowing through it. I was like, but through all that, you got your hands on the wheel. And the best part about it is the moment you take your hands off the wheel is when the road is going to get smooth. I was like, because now you're letting God drive. And
Yeah.
that's the whole reason. I was like, he's supposed to be driving the car. You're supposed to be sitting in the passenger side, just enjoying the view.
Mm-hmm.
And but we're men. I was like, we're humankind and we're selfish and we want to think that we do everything on our own when we don't.
Yeah.
Like there's always something else that pushes us to be who we are. Um, but man, that's a great note to end on, man. I appreciate that. That was good stuff. And I hope for the people who are listening don't think I talk too much in this episode. I was like, y'all got to know Dally. I was like, Dally, he's quick to the point. I was like, he ain't gonna elongate on a lot of stuff.
It was like my dad was, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like my dad was like that, you know.
Quick to the point. I had many conversations with James before he passed away. He was just quick to the point.
Yeah.
I remember when I got in trouble with Max, he was quick to the point. Like I came in there and he was just like, "Stop hanging with him." I was like, okay, is that it?" He was like, "Yeah." I was like, "All right." Just walked out. I was like, "All right." I was like, I thought it was going to get philosophical in here. It's going to be a great long speech, and he was just like, "Stop hanging with him."
Yeah.
So I was like, "All right."
He was blunt when he had to be because he didn't want confusion, you know.
Oh yeah, like I remember the first time, like he tried to change my shot one time, and I was like, man, I was like, it's before I knew how good he was in ball. He tried to change my shot one time. I'm like, man, you don't know what you talking about. I was like, whatever, dude. And he's like, yeah, that's why you suck. I was like, whoa. It's like, whoa. I was like, hold up, man. It's like him and Don both, bro. I was like, first time I played against Don before I knew Don was a pastor, he like elbowed me in the mouth and cut my lip open. And he was all like, was that a foul? I was like, no. I was like, God, man. Then somebody told me he was a pastor. I was like, you a man of God doing this to me? I was like, I'm a child. What are you doing? But oh man, bro, it's been great talking to you, man. This has been Conversing Over Drinks with your host Cedric Turner and our special guest Marlboro Slim, man. Be on the lookout for all of his wrestling events, man. Make sure you go out and support. I wish I could, but like he said, I'm halfway across the world and I won't be back anytime soon. So
yeah. Hey, I don't blame you. I might even come over there and join you because you know that's the step before you go up that way. So.
Hey man, I'm telling you right now, if you better get ready for New Tokyo, Japan. I don't watch a few of their wrestling matches.
Oh yeah.
I don't think none of that is fake.
Yeah.
Like,
hey, that's why they gotta go all the way to Japan, bro.
I was like, they be going at it. It is crazy. But man, thank you guys for listening. Be on the lookout for the episode. I'm gonna do everything I need to do. Marlboro Slim's gonna have his clips. I'm sure he's gonna be posting them on TikTok, Facebook, and whatever. It is gonna be a great time, man. Check out the episode. It should be coming out in a couple days. And thank you for watching Conversing Over Drinks with your host Cedric Turner. Peace. I'm out.
It's all gravy, baby.